Hey, football fans, welcome back to another episode of Lions Latest, the show where we gather around and talk about the greatest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. I'm your host, Bryan Hanes, and we have to talk about this is kind of a special episode. We're talking about the coach carousel, so let's jump straight into this video. Beforehand, though, if you're not already, please consider going down and hitting subscribe. I really appreciate all the love you guys show. And if you subscribe, you'll be updated on all videos we post here Monday through Friday. We're going to be updating you guys on all things going on in the offseason. So if you're a Lions fan or just a football fan looking to stay informed with what's going on in Detroit, make sure you guys hit subscribe and stick around. With all that being said, though, time for the video. Starting off, we're talking about the defensive coordinator position and how we might actually be in trouble of losing our guy right now. Last week, reports started to emerge that the Miami Dolphins were starting to request certain people for interviews for their head coaching and their defensive coordinator position. And our defensive coordinator, Calvin Shepard, was one of the people they wanted to bring in for the vacant head coaching job. Now, that interview has been scheduled as of now. According to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, Shepard will interview in person for the Dolphins head coaching gig on Monday. By the time you're probably watching this, it is the day that he is getting interviewed. It's important also to not read too much into this. Now, off the rip, you're like, crap, we're going to lose another one of our coaches. Like, why wouldn't he take a head coaching job? Well, don't think just because he's going in person that it's a done deal, right? It's a little more concerning, the fact that he's going in person, but while in some cases that might indicate an increased level of interest, in some other cases it may not. It's worth noting that Shepard has family from Southern Florida, and he regularly spends his off seasons there anyways. He also played for the Dolphins from 2014 to 2015 in the prime of his career, so he's got ties to Florida. He's got ties to the Dolphins. It's worth guessing that he's just going down there to pay some respects or possibly just to go see some family. That said, it is obviously a significant opportunity for Shepard nonetheless, who only began his coaching career in 2020 as a director of player development for LSU. Since then, he's been with the Lions organization, starting an outside linebackers coach in 2021, then was promoted to the linebacker coach period in 2022, and he did that until 2024, before taking on Aaron Glenn's job as the defensive coordinator last season, or this season. Dan Campbell has also complimented his ability to adjust and learn on the fly. So it's safe to say the head coach likes his defensive coordinator. We've already taken you through this quote before, but basically he just says, for any first-time coordinator, there's growing pains. He's going to have to learn to adjust on the fly, and that's just part of the first year. And he thinks that Shepard has done a good job at adjusting on the fly, and he says there's always going to be things that you learn from this job, but I like Shep. Quote, that was the quote. He liked Shep. To me, that's showing that at least Detroit wants Shepard to stay, right? And Shepard has a lot of competition for this Dolphins job as it is, including, but not limited to, Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, who is considered the favorite right now, 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula, and Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. So there's a whole lot of guys in this race as well. It seems like Calvin Shepard likes being in Detroit. It seems as his first season went not fantastic, but also wasn't totally his fault. Injuries. I feel like he'd want to stick around for a healthy season and see what he can really do with this roster. We're just gonna have to wait and see what he does, though. I'm hoping Calvin Shepard stays because some people don't like what he did in his first year, but personally, I think with what was going on, he did a pretty good job at getting some stats on the stat sheet. With that being said, though, we're gonna go to our second topic. You guys let me know what you think about that and whether or not you'd want him to stay in Detroit. And now, we might also be losing our safety coach. So continuing this trend of the coach carousel, on Friday, the New York Jets announced that they have actually conducted 8 interviews for their vacant defensive coordinator position after firing Steve Wilks in the middle of the 2025 season. Among those 8 candidates was current Detroit's defensive assistant / safeties coach Jim O'Neill, who's actually been pretty great. And if you hadn't heard this guy's name, let me let you in on what he's been doing for the Lions. He's only been with us since 2024, but he has overseen one of the team's best position groups. Under O'Neill, the Lions developed the young careers of both Pro Bowler Brian Branch and All-Pro safety Kirby Joseph, who we didn't see much of this year, unfortunately. If O'Neill gets the job, it wouldn't be the first time as a defensive coordinator. In fact, he actually has a pretty extensive history being a defensive coordinator. He served in the role for the Cleveland Browns from 2014 to 2015, San Francisco 49ers in 2016, and the Northwestern Wildcats, Big Ten football, from 2021 to 2022. There are plenty of other contenders for this job, but our guy has a lot to bring to the table, and that's what worries me the most because I don't want to lose one of my guys. He's already worked a lot with Aaron Glenn in the past, and he was shown how he was able to create the one of the best, if not the best, safety room in the NFL and keep it managed. Now, I wouldn't say that Kirby Justice's injuries on his part by any means. I think that's just unfortunate, but he oversaw probably the best part of our defense for a large majority this season, despite there being some injuries. So I'm gonna give it to him, man. He was a huge part of our success defensively, even though there wasn't too much defensive success to be said. I still think this would be a guy who'd be another huge blow for us. And any guy leaving our staff right now, it's just going to make it more hard for us to be able to stay stable and not go into a full rebuild. Because I'm really afraid that's what might happen. And there's a comment later in this video that talks about that really well. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video. With that being said, though, I think he could honestly go if he gets the opportunity. I don't see why you wouldn't take the defensive coordinator position for the Jets. I don't know. If they're going to pay, though, and if it's going to get you the stuff on your resume you want, you'd be a fool not to. We're going to have to wait and see what he does as well. I'm really worried that might be another one of our really big, staff guys that we might lose. And if we lose, like I said, if we lose him, it's just going to add on to the problems of stuff we got to look for. We're still looking for our offensive coordinator. We haven't confirmed that yet. Mike McDaniel's interviews seem to have gone well, so possibly that's in the future for him. But again, he might be looking for a head coaching job, so we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm just hoping we get some guys that aren't like sure, we'll take a chance on you. I want some guys who are really going to fit the mold. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with that. Now on to our third topic, another coach. Yes, John Morton. John Morton got another opportunity, and you wouldn't think after the season he had with the Lions that anyone would really want him calling plays, but the Broncos, going back to the Broncos. So the Lions parted ways with offensive coordinator John Morton after just one season with the team, and it wasn't a very successful season offensively in terms of play calling. But the longtime coach has already landed on his feet, and according to Adam Scheffler, Morton has joined the Denver Broncos to help prepare their next playoff matchup, which is going to be tough because they're without Bo Nix. Morton joining the Broncos isn't super surprising. He's had a history with them. Prior to joining the Lions in 2025, Morton served as Denver's passing game coordinator, like you might know, in 2023 and 2024. In fact, his history with the Broncos, head coach Sean Payton, actually dates back 2 decades when Morton was the Saints' pass game coordinator and offensive assistant under Payton in 2006 when he was rolling and getting some Super Bowls with Drew Brees. Not in 2000, well, you know what I mean, just in that era. Still, though, I think honestly this is the best opportunity he could have had. Go back to where you were. Possibly that's that kind of change he needed to get things going back in the direction he wanted. Maybe Detroit just wasn't the best fit for him. Maybe he just wasn't comfortable calling plays with us. We're gonna have to see what happens with him and with the Broncos for this postseason, but also for next year. He helped them against the Bills matchup, so it's safe to say, he helped with the beat the Bills passing wise. Definitely good to have him there. Definitely kind of cool to say that you showed up and you already started applying your knowledge. And in terms of when he was with us, I mean, it didn't really seem like his knowledge was doing all that much. We saw our points per game, which were 33.2 to 28.3, and yards per game at 409.5 to 373.2, significantly decline when he was calling plays, mostly because it was just a lot of I'll say just non-confident calls from him. It seemed like, you have this great offense, but he was just scared to really rip certain plays. And maybe it was because it was his first year and he was still figuring stuff out. But the amount of screens, backfield passes, little checkdowns I saw when we have guys like we do in our passing game, just that's not the way you want to run our offense. About midway through the season, Campbell then opted to take the play calling role over John Morton, and it led to the veteran offensive coach to lean being more of a weekly planner rather than an in-game coordinator. It still really didn't end up making a huge difference for us. As you can see, we're not in the postseason, but it's a role Campbell still insisted was essential to the team nonetheless. So I mean, if the head coach is saying he was still important, he was still big to some of our success in the wins we had after he stopped calling plays, I'll believe him. I don't have any reason to think my head coach is lying to me just to make some guy look good. He has no reason to do that. So I honestly think while John Morton was atrocious in Detroit, I'll just say it. And I don't think he's hearing this, but if he is, I mean, I'm sorry, man. But I think it is a opportunity for him to go do something he's better at. He wasn't the greatest play caller for us, but I think he's still valuable in any passing game. I think the knowledge he brings to the table is probably what's the most attractive about bringing him on a team, at this point, especially after what we saw with the Lions. And perhaps a reunion with the Broncos is what is best for him and what was just needed for his career to move forward. We're just going to have to wait and see for next year, guys. But right now, John Morton, best of luck to you in Colorado. I hope Denver treats you well, and I hope you can make a career out of it there, because I still have a feeling that you have a lot of ball knowledge, and it can be, if it's used in the correct manner, you can still be very valuable to an offense. But you guys can let me know what you think about that, and if you think he's going to be staying for the Broncos for too much longer. And now, finally, just some of your comments. Mo in the comments says, I expect Brad to do a lot of trading down for picks because the roster is absolutely decimated. We don't have any cap space, and almost none of our development pieces have actually developed. The team will drown in mediocrity for a year or two until Sheila finally puts her foot down and shakes things up. The paper bags will come back before the playoffs do. It's a fair take. It honestly is. And the fact that it's like, yeah, it's time to start trading for picks. Maybe. I think it really is going to have to depend on who we get coaching wise, and if it is going to have to be another step back year. But roster wise, I think if we're healthy, we're fine. But it's part of football. You got to stay healthy, and our team has not done a good job at that for the last 2 years. Before I end this one, I want to go to Larry Simmons 926's comment, because it's kind of devil's advocate to this one. Larry Simmons 926 says, Watt is the guy. Why? Because we need to take a risk. Why continue being cautious only to spend another offseason talking about drafts and trades and making the playoffs? Then spend another offseason talking about drafts and trades and getting the same results. Why not go, quote, all in and go for it, end quote? Will we do worse than what we've been getting? It's another really fair comment that kind of goes to the opposite of what Mo was saying. There's a point where it's like you trade down. You don't want to take the risk and not have a stable amount of picks going into the next year, and then have next year and have this season coming ahead of us just be a crap show. You know what I'm saying? It's a good point. But on the other hand, if we get the coaches we want, if the roster comes back healthy, if they stay healthy through training camp, which I am praying they do, Larry Simmons has a good point. Maybe you do go get that guy. Maybe you do sell the barn for a horse, right? Maybe you make it the year that you're going to be successful, because with a guy like Watt, there's a good chance your success rate is going to go up. It's a really, really hard situation, and I don't think there's a right answer right now because we don't have enough pieces in the equation. But I think both comments are very, very valid, and I think either way it goes, it wouldn't surprise me, right? If we take that extra step, it's showing Brad is like, all right, I'm done being cautious. I'm going to take the extra step so we can maybe change it up, see if there is any kind of extra success from it. But on the other hand, maybe Brad and Dan just end up getting picks, kind of get back to where we were 2 years ago in the next couple of years. And then maybe we just have long-term success. I have no idea because I'm not in that coaching room. But I think these are both very legitimate comments, very legitimate predictions. And we're going to just have to wait and see, because it is just up to Brad Holmes at this point, and I'm not sure what's going through his head. Thank you both for your comments. I really like these ones. With that being said, we're out of time today. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Lions Latest. If you made it to this point in the video, tell me what you guys think about those 3 coaches I just mentioned, whether or not you'd want our guys to stay, and what do you think about John Morton? Is he going to be in Denver for a long time, or do you see him bouncing around the league? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss a single video here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.